everyone, and welcome to ArtSea with Mote, where we turn trash into treasure. Well, for today's craft, we're going to be visiting the deep ocean and making our own anglerfish. One of the coolest animals out there. Pretty simple to do. All you need is a recycled cereal box. Okay, you need scissors, you need some glue, okay, you need a black Sharpie, you need a little piece of sponge, preferably the color yellow, okay, you need some paint, okay, preferably brown, black, or like a deep dark red, okay, you need some toothpicks, and you need some tape. Now, preferably clear packing tape probably would work the best, but really any tape will do, okay? So I'm just using some painter's tape today. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is kind of create this really unique shape of our anglerfish, okay? These guys are in the deep, dark ocean. There's not a lot of other animals around. They're slow. They're not really known for swimming fast, so they kind of have these big, bulky bodies. But they're really soft and almost gelatinous, okay? They have to deal with that deep pressure, okay? Now, these guys are pretty small typically, so the largest one is only about 6 inches, okay, in size. So most of them are very tiny, even though they look kind of scary. So first thing we're going to do is kind of create the shape of the face, okay? And you'll notice they have this really prominent kind of underbite, okay? The top of their mouth, they have this sort of superior facing mouth, right? Almost similar to the grouper that we did before, okay? But what's really unique about these guys is they can actually expand their bottom jaw up to twice the size, okay? They can also expand their stomach, okay? So they can take in really big prey twice the size of them. So we want to make sure that our bottom jaw is bigger than our top jaw. So I'm going to take my Sharpie and I'm going to draw it on there basically. And so you want to draw with the back of the fish, the back of the anglerfish, the bottom of your cereal box, okay? So I'm just going to kind of make that shape, and I'll show you guys. So again, you want to make the bottom jaw just much bigger, okay? So this is kind of the shape that I drew, okay? So again, you're just making, it doesn't have to be perfect at all, okay? And then on the top, I'm going to draw in where he gets his name, right? From his little lure, okay? So they have this special organ that almost acts like a fishing rod that they use to attract prey, okay? So it's pretty amazing. So we're going to just draw this on the top of our cereal box, okay? And you can draw it all the way to the end for now, and then kind of adjust later. Okay. Okay, so you can kind of see how I did that. Just connected those. Okay. And then once we cut them out, we'll be able to cut the other side as well. Okay. So I'm going to take my scissors and I'm just going to cut along the box. Now you are going to be using some of the other cardboard to make the fins and other things, so you don't want to discard that. Now just think about being in the deep, dark sea. It's cold, it's dark, it's heavy from the pressure. So our deep sea animals have some of the coolest adaptations to be able to survive in that harsh environment. And the anglerfish is definitely one of those. So you're making that top part much bigger, okay? And then you want to make sure you just don't cut out the lure altogether. So these guys have to be able to, if they get a meal, they have to be able to, have that meal sustain them for a while, because again, it is vast. It is huge in the deep, dark ocean. It is hard to find prey. It's hard to find mates. So, you can see that I've got this lure cut out here, okay? And then what I'm going to do with my Sharpie is I'm going to trace this along the other side so I can kind of make it a mirror image. Okay, so now I'm just going to cut that out. Now the anglerfish is a large group of fish that's not only found in the deep sea. There are frogfish and batfish that we find closer to the surface. But today we're kind of doing a deep sea anglerfish. Okay, so we are getting there, right? Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to cut out the bottom, okay? Because we want to try and put this guy together. And again, their stomachs can also expand. So now we have our sort of boxy shape, our majorly superior mouth. Okay, we've got our lure cut out. So now what we're going to do, guys, is we're going to take our tape and we're going to tape together the different parts, okay? Now I'm actually going to cut this lure out a little bit more. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take our tape and we're going to tape together the bottom jaw and we're going to tape together the top, the head, okay? Okay, now I'm going to kind of overlap the bottom jaw a little bit just to kind of create a little bit of depth there. Okay. There are many different types of anglerfish. So this guy might look a little bit different than my original example, and that's fine. Okay, so we've got our kind of boxy shape of our little anglerfish. We've got our lure, although I think I'm going to trim my lure up. I'm going to have it be about, it usually sticks out just a little bit farther than the mouth. Okay, so you can imagine if he's got that lure hanging down and there's a special bacteria that they have a symbiotic relationship that grows on the end of the lure, and it'll light up, okay, and it'll attract that prey. And they say, oh, is that some sort of jelly or something that I can eat? They go after it, and then, haha, just kidding, it is the anglerfish, and they grab it. Okay, so it usually sticks out just a little bit farther. All right, he's getting there. All right, so we'll make the fins as well. And then we'll paint, okay? Now, usually they are like a dark brown or black. Red is even a color that's pretty common in the deep sea, okay? So you're not going to find a whole lot of bright colors down there, right? So the light doesn't penetrate, so really no point in being really, really colorful, okay? But before we paint, okay, I want to add the fins. Now, we already learned from their shape of their body, they're not really efficient swimmers. They're not swimming around a lot. So their fins are pretty tiny, okay? Okay, so their tail fin, okay, you may have learned this before, that the more forked the fin of the tail of a fish, typically the faster that they can swim, okay? So these guys aren't swimming fast, so they really don't have a fork in their tail at all. Same with their pectoral fins, their little side fins. They're small and round usually. So I'm going to take a piece of my cereal box and I'm just going to kind of draw them all the same shape. I'm going to make the tail a little bit bigger. Okay. Then those two peck fins, okay? Now you want to leave a little bit at the bottom of your drawing so you can fold it over and tape it onto the box, okay? So these are kind of the shapes that I drew. Okay, you can just do a circle if you want. I think that would be fine. And then I'm just going to fold up the bottom that we're going to use to tape on. Okay, so now we have our fins ready to be taped onto our box. So I'm just going to take a little piece of tape. Okay, I'm going to tape it. We'll go ahead and tape the last fin on. Okay, so again, line them up with the mouth. Kind of look over and kind of line them up with the other one. And tape them right on. Okay. So what we'll do now is we'll paint. I love to paint. I don't know about you guys. So I just have some brown crafting paint. And I'm literally just going to paint the whole thing, okay? I'm going to go through, paint every little piece, paint over all the tape, okay? I'm going to paint both sides of the lure, okay? Alright, I've got my first coat down. I'm going to let that dry for a couple of seconds, and then I'm going to add another coat, and then I'm going to let it dry completely. Alright everyone, well my paint is nice and dry. Now it's up to you guys how many coats you want to do. Like I could probably use another coat, but that's alright. I kind of like the reddish tint that it kind of gives them a little bit. So, I forgot to mention that when, after I painted everything, I painted the lure, I kind of bent it to the back a little bit. That way, when you go to bend it forward, it'll kind of stick up a little bit. Okay, so then you can kind of mold it forward a bit. Oh, there we go. Okay, so next thing we want to add are his teeth, okay, or its teeth. Now their teeth are super gnarly. These guys are predators, and their teeth all kind of face inwards. That way a tasty meal can easily slide into the anglerfish's mouth but cannot get out. So if they go to turn around, they see all those teeth facing back at them. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a couple pieces of tape, basically 4 pieces of tape, and then it's up to you guys how many teeth you want to add, but I'm going to do 4 per strip, okay? So I'm going to take 4 toothpicks, and I'm going to kind of just place them on the sticky side of the tape, okay? So like this, and then I'm going to just tape them right to the inside of our anglerfish's mouth, okay? So you're going to end up doing 4 sides. Again, you can use as many of these as you want to make your mouth look as fierce as possible. Okay. So if you're a little fish or a little jelly or something swimming along, you get in there, there's no getting out. But again, most of these guys are about the size of a golf ball, so we don't have to worry too much. Okay, so we're going to tape the last part of his teeth. Again, you can kind of see the way I'm taping them. I'm going to just tape them up here on the inside. Those gnarly teeth. And here's where if you had the clear tape, you couldn't see the tape on the inside. But it's up to you guys. You're welcome to paint inside as well. Okay, so he's got his gnarly teeth. He's got his lure, which is a modified dorsal spine. So these guys are bony fish, also known as teleosts, and they have fin rays, okay? So on their dorsal fins. Sharks do not, okay? So the anglerfish's fin ray has been modified into this lure. Now we mentioned earlier that it has a special symbiotic bacteria living on the end that allows it to bioluminesce, or actually light up when disturbed and when needed. Okay, so it is a fleshy, kind of squishy. I imagine it's squishy. I've never actually felt one, but so I'm going to use my little piece of sponge. You don't want anything too heavy on the end because you don't want to weigh down your lure. Okay, so you could paint it if you wanted to. If you had a recycled ping pong ball or something, you could paint it and stick it on there. But for today, I am going to just glue a little piece of yellow sponge, okay? So let's see. I'm just going to use Elmer's glue. I'm just going to glue it right to the end there. Yes! Check that guy out. Alright, he's got his lure, his teeth, his fun little fins. The last thing we're going to add are basically his fin rays, okay? His eyes and his gill opening. So again, he is a bony fish, okay? So they breathe with gills and they have a gill opening. So just right in front of your pectoral fins, I'm going to kind of just draw something that's going to represent my gill opening, okay? These guys have tiny eyes. They don't typically utilize their eyes out in the deep sea. So I'm just going to draw some little black eyes with my Sharpie right in front of those gill openings. Now it's up to you guys again. If you have googly eyes or something fun like that, you could do that. You could paint it if you wanted to. Okay, and then I'm going to go through and I want to make some lines on my pectoral fin just to show those fin rays that our teleosts or our bony fish have. Okay. All right. And you guys, I think he's looking good. The last thing you guys could do, if you wanted to just kind of, you know, touch it up a bit, if you wanted to, you could paint this corner up here or use your Sharpie just to kind of show the shape of your anglerfish. So I'm just going to kind of color in the corners. You could cut those off. I'm going to do it on the bottom as well. I'll show you in my original example where I cut them off. So you have a couple options. Okay, so for this guy, I just kind of colored them in. And this guy here, you can see I actually cut the sides off. Check them out! Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so using very little materials, turning that cereal box into one of the coolest creatures of the deep, the anglerfish. I hope you guys have had fun making it. I know I have. If you make one, please post it, hashtag ArtSeawith Mote. We'd love to see what you come up with. Hope you all have a wonderful day. See you next time.